Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of Homer, Odyssey Book 6, and we're up to line 57. So at this stage, Nausikaa has been visited by Athena, who's put into her head the idea that she must go and wash the clothes. And so she goes and finds her parents and goes straight, of course, to her father. And she says, "Papa Phil, uk ande moi if hopliseas epenein, hupselen eukuklon, hinakluta haimata agomai es potamon plun iusa, ta moi rerupomena ketai." So we get this lovely papa, so dear daddy, and then we get an optative here for our main verb. So it's a very polite request. So it's like our "would you be so kind as to." That's in the optative, and it's with an "an." So would you not kindly prepare for me the high, well-wheeled, so with good wheels, the wagon, the apene. Now Homer uses apene here and hamaxa essentially interchangeably for a bit of variation. Most of the time we're going to see apene, and then occasionally we'll see hamaxa. So would you be so kind to prepare for me the wagon, which is high up and with good wheels, hina, in order that agomai, subjunctive, that I might carry my kluta haimata. Well, Clutus, of course, is famous, but it's not. One doesn't talk about famous clothes, but perhaps my lovely clothes or something like this. To the river, plon iusa. Now this again is a future participle, but the sigma has dropped out here, and we're not getting contraction. In later Greek, the epsilon would contract with this, and we get a circumflex. So one of the things in Homer, we sort of see these intermediary stages between earlier forms and what we would see later in Attic, and we see the sort of middle step, as it were, in the formation here. So this is a future participle. So with the intention of washing them. The haimata which lie, now this is from rupo'o, to make dirty. This is the perfect passive here, which lie rather filthy for me. Interesting this form, because normally with verbs beginning with ro, when you form the perfect, you don't reduplicate. The reduplication just takes the form of an augment. But here we're actually getting a more complicated or rarer reduplicated form, possibly an epic reduplicated form here. In any case, and now oike can mean it seems, but often it can mean it seems good. It seems good also for you yourself, being in company with the protois, the leading men, to go into council, to make counsel, so to make your decisions, to go into council. E contra, probably just with here, literally having clean clothes on your crowy, on your skin, on your person. So it's something like, it seems good, it seems to be better also for you when you're going to make decisions among the leading men, to have clean clothes on your person, literally on your skin. Penti de toi philoi huies en megarois gegaasin. There are, we have to understand, well, here it is here, so 5 dear sons have been born for you in the halls. toi du opiontes tres de a theoi thalethontes. So two of them are married. This is from opuio, to marry. So two of them are married, and three are aethia, unmarried, but thalethontes, well, thriving or robust or in the bloom of youth. So two of them are married and three of them are unmarried, well, something like strapping young men, who continually ethelusi, they wish, es choron orchestai, to go to the dance, again just with here, literally having, neo pluta, you see the roots here, neos and the pluno root, having newly washed clothes. And so they are always wanting to go off to the dance with newly washed clothes. Ta de eme freni panta memelen. All these things have been a concern, this is from Mello, it's the perfect, have been a concern, or perhaps just translated as are a concern to my mind. So I'm really worried about all of these things. And she, of course, is the only daughter, the only female child. Hos fata, and thus she spoke. For, now you remember that Athena had mentioned that her own marriage was probably not too far off, and she needs therefore to be well dressed, but she doesn't mention that to her father, and Homer very nicely just puts in this little line here, for she was embarrassed, eideto, she had eidos, she had respect, so for she was embarrassed, exonomai, to make mention of her thalaron. This is from thallo, to bloom, but often translated as tender. So, for she was embarrassed to make mention of her tender marriage to her own father. Philos means dear in later Greek, but it can, especially in Homer, can mean just one's own, rather than translated as dear necessarily, so to her own father. But he, he is thinking about all these things and answered her with a word. This is imperfect, in fact, it's from not et o, so this will be, so he began to think about all these things and replied, he answered with a word. Ute toi he mionon phthonio, I do not begrudge you the, and this is a genitive, it's a partitive genitive, it's sort of any of the mules. Tekos, this just means my child. It's connected with tikto, to bear, so the one having been born, hence my child. Uti tu alu, now the tu is tinos, tu for tinos here, nor any other thing. Urku, imperative here, just go. Ata toi demoes, if hoplesusi epenein, hupselan eukuklon, hupeteriae arahuian. But the servants, now again, this is probably future here. The verb is if hoplizdo, so this looks to me like a future with a double sigma for the sake of meter. So, but the servants will prepare for you epenein, a carriage or a wagon, and as she asked specifically for one which was hupselon and eukuklon, so he says one which is high up, so that presumably means not near the ground, so you have to step up on it, so you won't get bespattered with the mud as it goes along. And eukuklon, one which has good wheels. Arahuian is a perfect participle here from ararisco, so we get a kind of reduplication here. Ararisco is to fit. This is a feminine perfect participle agreeing with a pene, So it means fitted with a hoop terrier. Now exactly what this is debated. The scholiast says it's a kind of box to put baggage in. It's got to be fitted onto the wagon. Others take it as a kind of awning or hood put over the wagon to protect the person riding in it from the sun and so on, or rain. So it's not quite clear. It just means the thing placed above. So it could be some box or it could be some awning, but the fact that it's got to be fitted onto it suggests perhaps it might be just this awning. In any case, hos apone demoesen ekekleto toi de epithonto. And thus speaking, he called. This is a reduplicated aorist again from Callio. So he called to the servants, and they obeyed. And we get lots of these reduplicated aorists here in Homer. You've sort of got to get used to them. You can see the cl root here, calling, and we get a reduplication and then the augment. And they obeyed. Hoimen are ektos hamaxan eutrokon hemionein hoplion. Hemionus thupagon suxan de hup apene. And they, ektos, outside, now the main verb is here, hoplion, they began to prepare, it's imperfect. Now he uses hamaxa here, or in fact, if you look carefully with it's actually amaxa. You get both in Greek, hamaxa and amaxa. So outside they began to prepare the wagon, which had good wheels, which is the slightly different word that we had before, again for variation. Here it was eukuklon, here it's eutrokon, literally which rolls along well, and which is drawn by mules, hemionein. Now we're getting this in a different part of the sentence than we saw before. In the previous two mentions of this, the wagon, this was in the first couple of feet, and now we need slightly different meter, and so he uses slightly different words here. And they led under the mules, and they yoked them under the wagon. So the idea is they've got to put the mules underneath the yoke. So hence we're getting a lot of this hooper words here as they bring them underneath. Kure, but the girl, Ferin, this is imperfect without augment, was carrying her shining clothes, ek thalamoia, from the bedroom. Kaitain men, and she placed it on the well-polished apene. This is the wagon. But her mother began to place, so tithe from tithemi, placed many oike here, often translated as satisfying or agreeable, pleasant food, en kiste, in a little box, a kiste, food of all sorts, pantoyen. And she began to place, so again it's imperfect here, from tithemi, she was placing opsa. Now this is a neuter plural. It means anything which is cooked, any kind of cooked food. So she often translated as delicacies. So and the N goes with the tithemi. So she placed in it opsa, so delicacies, cooked food, and she poured, and again the N goes with the keo, she poured in wine in the goat skin wine flask, the ascos. Now, of course, with these, this is what we would in later Greek call temesis, where you get the preposition separated from the verb, but at this stage the preposition wasn't actually with the verb, so it's not really temesis. This is sometimes called a preverb in Homer, but in later Greek we would take this as being temesis because the two are connected together. Kure depibesata epenes, and the girl mounted, she got on board the epene, the wagon. Edo ke de crucee en le kutho hugron elion, eos kutlosai tosun amphipoloisin gunaixin. Now this must be the mother again. The mother gave her hugron elion. So this is the oil. It's sort of supple oil. It's literally wet or perhaps liquid. So the liquid oil in a golden lekuthos, which is a little oil container. You see lots of these in museums and things, antiquity museums. A lot of these have survived from antiquity. The lekuthos. Now the heos here normally means while, but it's possibly here meaning so that. So that kut losaito, this is an optative here, it means she might pour it for herself, because it's middle here. The verb is kutuloamai. It's connected with keo, the pouring, so that she might pour it out for herself along with her servant women. It's slightly obscure here, but they didn't have soap in the same way we did, or detergents and things, so often they would use oil mixed with some soil, some sand perhaps, as a kind of cleansing agent, and then you'd wash the clothes with this and then rinse them. And that might be what this is about here. You can see the commentaries on this. But she, and now this is the Nausikaa, she took the mastiga, the whip, and the shining aenea, this is neuter plural, the reins, and she mastixen, from this is she began to whip, or rather she whipped, understand, the mules. Elaan is an infinitive from elao, which is another form of elauno, to drive. So she whipped them into action, she whipped them to drive, to move off. And kanake, it's probably an onomatopoetic word, it simply means a noise. So there was a noise, and this is a dual genitive, really an ablative, because there was a noise from the two mules. Haidi amaton tenuonto. The verb here, tenuo, is to stretch, but here in the sense of stretch the reins, so they began to pull, they began to stretch, to pull the reins, or to tighten up the reins. Amaton, the etymology is still debated, I think. It's often translated as continually, without ceasing, without pause. So it's something like they stepped forward without flagging, or they began to pull without stopping. And they were carrying both the aestheta, the clothing, kai autain, and her, Nausikaa, Uk oyen, not alone, indeed, along with her, other servants were going. So this is from Keo. It's an imperfect from Keo. So, but in fact, other servants were going along with her. Don't forget to enjoy the particles and try and translate them if possible. And we'll continue this in the next recording.